everyone, welcome back to the channel. And yesterday we were at the cereals event. I had a great time there. It was so nice to meet so many of you. And today we're back on the farm and we're here down at the Broads checking the cattle. Just on the way down I thought I would show you, these are some of the marshes. Now although they seem quite flat here, you do really need to know marshes in Norfolk because there are a lot of gullies which, if you didn't know about them, you could on a wet year get stuck. Well, we've made it through that gully and I hope you can see just by the reed beds here, we're near the River Yare, just how nice it is this time of the year down at the Broads. Now here are some of the heifers just at the end of this field waiting at this gate here. The grass is growing well, we've had plenty of rain recently. So I know a lot of you have been asking about the cattle we have on the farm. These here are some replacement heifers and they're a really lovely bunch of girls. They're just over 24 months old and recently we put the Aberdeen Angus bull we bought from Scotland called Hector with them. So a lot of them are now hopefully in calf. We'll find out later on in the year when we scan them with the local scan man who comes down in the autumn time, and then we'll know hopefully how far away they are from calving. And just here, as we're just waiting by this gate, this is one of my favourite heifers called Panda. She's called Panda because she looks like a panda, because she's got markings, I don't know if you can see, on her face, and it's what we decided to call her when she was a calf growing up on the farm. We've got some blonde crosses, we've got blonde cross red pole, we've also as well got some red poles. We do have a herd of red poles on the farm, we've got about 30, and this is a blonde cross here who's a lovely heifer. She's coming on. She's very friendly because I always feed her in the winter when they're around the yard. A fun fact about Panda is she does like Dolly Parton country music, don't you, Panda? And she always waits by the Land Rover because at the back sometimes I'll give her a handful of nuts or a bucket of nuts, won't I, Panda? So she's a lovely heifer. She's just been with Hector, and it was a bit of a romance when they were both down together because Hector spent a lot of time with Panda, didn't you? He's your partner. And I hope now that we're going to have a lovely calf out of Panda, so I'll keep an eye on her. And we've got some mineral blocks down here which we get from Mole Valley farmers. They're a garlic block mineral which is supposed to help with the flies, because one of the biggest problems this time of the year, especially on a humid and warm year, is we can have problems with the flies. So I'll just show you, these are some lick blocks we carry in the vehicles. We drop them down here. So these are mineral licks for the cattle because the marshes are poor grazing. There are some vitamins the cattle can't get. And these licks as well also have a bit of garlic in them, which is supposed to help repel the flies. Now, we have noticed since using these new licks that they haven't had as bad flies. They've been really good this year, and we'll try and keep using these licks if we can. So for anyone out there who's having trouble with flies with their livestock herd, do have a look at some garlic licks. Now, something a lot of you guys have been asking me about the cattle is, what do you do with the cows, the heifers, once they have the calves? Do you fatten anything? Well, We've never been into fattening because our farm at home is quite light and sandy. The land is always hungry, so it's very difficult to get high yields if we were going to grow maize or any sort of fattening feed to feed our animals. So we really struggle to get the yields and the quality out of a feed to feed them. Unless we could get a byproduct or something like that, we just generally stay away from fattening animals. We like to rear some stores and then we sell them off as stores to other people who finish cattle, and then they'll buy them in as stores, which is what their business will be, and then they'll fatten them and sell them on to the fattening trade. So they'll obviously end up in a butcher shop or a supermarket. So we don't actually see them right through to the end. We carve them, we see them come out of the cow, we make sure that they're carved, and then we wean them after about 6 months. The weaned calves then go into our store lots, and then the store lots in the summer come out in the on the marshes here, and then they'll graze the Broads on a rotation. So they'll be going around all the different fields, tightening down the grass, getting a bit of goodness, getting some clover from the clover areas we've got down here, and they'll start to build a frame. One thing we try and do is we do try and go a good frame on the animals, because you can always sell the stores, you can sell the offspring. So recently we bought Hector, who's an Aberdeen Angus bull, and he's got the single muscle gene, so he hasn't got the double muscle gene. We just want our calving to be relatively easy. We don't want a huge amount of stress at that time of the year. One problem in the UK is labour. It's very difficult to get people, and it's also very expensive to get labour to help you on farms nowadays. So calving, you want it to be efficient and you want it to be relatively simple and straightforward. So we've got a single muscle bull. However, he's still big enough, Hector, that he's got a good frame on him. So hopefully we'll have some cracking stores out of these heifers when they have their calves, and we can grow them up and sell them to a fattening unit. And with the prices being the way they are, we should get a reasonable price for our stores. And in the summer, the stores will come down here to graze. We just feed them some fodder beet straw and some minerals at home, which doesn't cost us a huge amount because we grow the fodder beet, we grow the straw. You'll see that being harvested and baled this year. Everything is produced back at home. Everything they eat down here is grown on this part of the farm. So really, it's only a few mineral licks, which I was showing you there, the garlic licks, and some concentrates in our Collinson silo, which will just feed them to supplement their rations, that we buy in for them. So we're trying to keep everything as low cost as possible, but also at the same time, it has to work in with the Broads. We can't spray any herbicides, pesticides or fungicides down here because we're in environmental schemes. So what these cattle are doing is they're maintaining this natural habitat, because they are doing a really good job down here. And I must say, when you come down on a day like today and you see the animals grazing and you see them enjoying the Broads and maintaining this habitat, it's just wonderful. So you can see we've got this heifer now just going down, look, and she's having a drink out of the river. I mean, it's just absolutely brilliant. So, you know, again, drinking out of the river doesn't cost us anything. When they're at home, they're on mains water, it costs us money. But down here it's not too expensive. You know, in today's society where farming is becoming very expensive, you're sometimes better off with just a low-cost farming system like this one, where we've got some replacement heifers here. We've got the main suckler herd at another site. We rear the stores and then sell them onto the fattening trade. The 3 F's at the moment, that's what everyone's talking about: feed, fuel and fertiliser. And if any of those things you're buying in is too expensive for whatever reason, it's just really, really difficult to keep farming at the moment, at least to a reasonable level where it's profitable and you can provide a living for yourself and for your family. And I've learned a lot over the years from my dad and from the farm agent, who's a great consultant. And you know, I'm still in my 20s now. I'm in my mid-20s, I'm 25, and I'm learning every day. And the more I can learn, the better. And then when I get into my 30s, I'll start to manage the farm more. And we're developing this new shed. We're looking into rearing some more beef of our own in the new building. I did look into a contract with Sainsbury's with ABP, but the prices were just too low, and I found in the end we're just better off doing it ourselves, calving our heifers here, rearing up the calves and then selling them. If you get a good contract with a company, you can have quite a sustainable future for your farming business. But just like with any business, especially at the moment, it is very uncertain and you've got to be so careful. So we want really a low risk business with low input, something which is sustainable for the future and has got a good solid income. And that's one thing these heifers, the sheep and these marshes at the Norfolk Broads have always done for us. One thing which is really quite interesting about them as well is we've never used fertiliser down here, because in our agreement for the conservation zones we cannot fertilise any of the land because of the nitrogen vulnerable zones, and we're on an SSSI, which is a specific site of scientific interest, so we can't use any fertiliser. And actually it's been quite good training over these last few decades not using fertiliser, herbicides, pesticides down here, because now they are actually too expensive. So the animals are out here now for the rest of summer. They'll be brought in towards September, October time, and then we'll bring them back to the farm where we'll start feeding them silage, which we're going to harvest literally in the next few weeks. On the other side of these marshes over here, we'll be carting that back with a John Deere, and then later on when these come home, we'll be feeding the silage at home. So we've got fields here which we've shut off from them here to graze, which we're saving to feed them in the winter, if that makes sense. So they're basically eating this grass all year round, but it's just pickled and put into bales. And then one thing we do as well is we do grow a little bit of fodder beet at home, which gets harvested by Paul's massive sugar beet harvesters. It then goes into a clamp and then we feed it out with our fodder beet bucket. So really when you combine the grass down here, which we grow for them, the silage, the straw and the fodder beet, we are feeding them everything almost homegrown. We do give them, like I say, some vitamins, we give them some pellets as well, and that's, you know, quite an expensive cost with feed, but the amount of pellets we're giving them is so minimal, it's just enough to give them their vitamins, that it does work. And also one thing we do as well is we have a very low stocking rate down at the marshes and at home. We don't like to overstock everything. Say we do have a dry year, we do have a bad year where there's not enough grass for whatever reason, on some extreme years, we've always got enough grass because the stocking rates are so low. There's about 300 acres of marshes down here, and there's probably about 120 cattle and about 50 ewes at the moment. So they've got plenty of ground to run over. There's plenty of different pastures for them to be moved on every few days. We're able to escape the fertiliser costs as well. One of the biggest costs, of course, is the fuel when we harvest our silage. However, nowadays the equipment is so efficient that we're able to harvest a large amount of silage in a short space of time with modern equipment, which is very efficient. I mean, a lot of people like machinery, a lot of people like arable, and then there's lots of people out there who love livestock as well. And there's a very few people who love both. And I think that's one of the keys in life, is to have a bit of variety. Variety is the spice of life, as they say. If it wasn't for the livestock, our arable wouldn't do very well, the spring barley. We muck it with the cattle, the sheep graze all the turnips and put muck it back into the land, and then in turn the arable provides the livestock with food. Together they're a really good blend and they complement each other really well. We're able to add the organic matter back into our hungry sandy soil back at home. If you like cattle and if you like sheep, do comment in the comment section down below, and I'll try in the future to get some more livestock content for you. We saw earlier, a few weeks ago, we were shearing the sheep. The ewes are now shorn, and I'll show you them in the future very, very soon. So thanks for watching. Keep liking, keep subscribing, stay positive, and I will catch you on the next one. Click here to subscribe to the channel, and click here to watch another Olly's Farm video.